So we're all going to die one day. Some of us a little sooner than others. John Pidgeon, looking at you riding your bike from Port Macquarie to Noosa.
Oh,
Risk.
Got a story about that as well.
We'll save it for the after party. Lindsay said, when you pass away, does your superannuation value stay the same as it was the day you died, or does it keep trading until it's paid out through the person's will? How long is it considered a reasonable time for the superannuation to be let go by the super fund to be allowed to be actioned by the person's will? Thanks in advance. Have a great day. Thanks, Lindsay. He's a regular in the Facebook group. What do you take from this?
Don't know.
Okay, so
7 days.
yeah, well, that's cute. So just on this, when you die, your superannuation does not form part of your estate. It's not an estate asset. It's a trust that is separate to your wealth. So
Yes.
That's number one. Number two, because that money is on trust, there is a trustee, and that trustee could be insert major super fund name here. So they manage the money on behalf of you as a trustee. Now, you can tell the trustee that, hey, if I die, please pay this superannuation to my children or to my spouse, or
Percentage-wise.
percentage-wise, yeah. Or in the case of someone like me, I don't have kids, I've got no superannuation dependents or superannuation tax dependents. I've told my superannuation documents, I've got a superannuation fund, self-managed one, but there's a nomination that money goes into the estate and to be governed by my will.
Yep.
When I didn't have the self-managed super fund, I had a binding nomination that if I die, send the money to my personal legal representative, which is AKA the executor of my will, to then distribute via the will.
So what's most commonly done? Can it be neglected and forgotten about in the event?
Yeah, well, so most people will have a nomination on their superannuation to their spouse or their kids.
Regardless of whether they've got a will or not?
Yeah, because you don't need a will to
No.
have a superannuation nomination. So the question is, in the event of you dying, what does the super fund do? How long have they got to take? So what they first do, once they're notified of a member's death, they will first look at, okay, is there a valid beneficiary nomination here?
Yeah.
So if, I died and I had a wife and it said send all money to wife, they would literally get the wheels in motion to pay that out. So the question here, does it stay invested? Most of the funds that I've seen upon notification of a member's death will stay invested. There could be some funds this is why if you are interested in this, have a look, call your own super fund and ask them what their process is. Some funds may, upon notification of death of a member, some trustees may uninvest that money or de-invest it or whatever it is, move it to cash. The ones that I've seen, it stays invested. And then the day it gets transferred out, that's the day that you get. If the market's gone to the moon, there's going to be more money for the estate or the beneficiaries. If it's tanked, there'll be less money.
But essentially, at the end of the day, the superannuation funds needs to go to the beneficiary or the nominee. It can't stay in its original state.
But basically what happens, if you have a superannuation fund and you die and there isn't a listed beneficiary, the trustee has discretion of where they pay that.
Yeah.
And this is where things can get nasty and crazy really fast.
Yeah.
I was helping a client who died and they had their superannuation, like an industry super fund. I think it was CBUS. Not that means anything. I just remember weird details. They had some insurance in there, no nomination of beneficiary. And it literally took, and this is the crazy part of it, like it took them over 6 months to, actually, once we got all the documents to them, pay the death claim. And there's a whole heap of stuff in the media at the moment with some of these bigger super funds dropping the ball on death benefits. It's been going on for years. But basically what would happen is the spouse may send a notice to the super fund, hey, my partner's died. There's no nomination of beneficiary. They will start to gather information. Can you tell us, is there a will? They've got discretion to gather whatever information. So in the case that I had, we had to have a stat deck from the spouse, and we also put a stat deck from the 2 adult kids to say, basically, we're happy for mum to get the money. There's no claim here. And then that then goes to a trustee meeting and they look at all the stuff. And I think that's why if you want control, you've got to make sure that you've got a beneficiary nomination in place. So
you mentioned 6 months. I mentioned 7 days. Are we somewhere in between that? Is it what's generally a realistic time frame?
Look, at the end of the day, if someone died tomorrow, there's the practicals of life. You might not get around to letting the super fund know for a couple of weeks.
Yeah. But is it, like, from a superannuation's point of view, they're losing business?
Yeah, but it's not huge.
But is it like I'm with Westpac, I'm going to ANZ, Westpac, you need to release the funds?
No, so with the transfers, now that it's all like electronic, the funds have 3 days or whatever to transfer the roll of money out. So look, all I would say is it's hard to say how long does it take because it has got everything to do with the trustee of the individual fund. And if there is no nomination, they could get notified tomorrow. They could receive all these, a stat deck to say, I'm the surviving spouse, there's no other claim. What if someone came out of the woodwork and said, oh, I'm actually a half-brother and I deserve this?
Yeah.
So even if you had the best case scenario and you sent those documents in, it was all good or legit, the trustee might only do monthly or 6 weekly meetings.
Yeah.
So you could have got in at the wrong time. So, we've got to wait a month till there's a meeting of the trustee committee and stuff like that. So
be prepared for a journey.
I just want to get across that to have control when you die within relation to your super, have a binding beneficiary. And I will just caution, there was a sad case, and I've talked about it on the podcast before. A guy died, he was in his 30s, 2 young kids, and I knew of them in my broader networks, left the wife, 2 young kids in the house. He thought he was doing the right thing and put the 2 kids who were like under 8 years old, 50-50 as the binding nomination.
Right.
Now, this gets really annoying because what if they had insurance in that same fund? So they could have had the everyday industry super fund with $200,000 balance. The guy could have had $1 million of death cover.
Yeah.
But the nomination at a fund level will cover the insurance and the actual invested amount, the super. He died, house with a mortgage and young kids, 50-50, call it $1 million or whatever it was with insurance and the account balance, left to the 2 kids. How annoying. Awesome that he wanted to protect, but now mum's left with a mortgage, part-time job.
Yeah.
Now, there could be ways that they could cook it and be like, we're going to use this money, pay the mortgage off, we'll transfer the house so it's at the benefit of the kids, and then lifetime tenancy if mum ever, but what a mess.
Yeah. 8-year-olds are deciding the future.
Well, yeah, and this is it would probably go on a nominal trust and all that stuff, but it effectively has to be paid out of the super fund. There's probably rules deep in the CIS Act that, you got to do this, an intention within a certain amount of time, but that's all I wanted to get across today, to have control. This episode is brought to you by Sphere Home Loans. Hey, in this wild world, we are pro mortgage broker, and a lot of you who listen to the podcast have your own mortgage broker that might not be Sphere Home Loans. Awesome. We just believe anyone who has a mortgage is likely to be best and better served by a mortgage broker. Now, if you do not have a mortgage broker, or you're looking to buy your first home, upgrade, downgrade, side grade, all the things, reach out to Sphere Home Loans. They support the podcast, they support the show, and they will help you and point you in the right direction. Otherwise, let's do a podcast. You're listening to M3, Australia's OG personal finance podcast. If you're new here or just passing by, welcome. Grab a drink and check out a few episodes. If you're a regular, you know the drill. Strap in and behave. We've got visitors. Please do note that everything discussed in the show is general advice only, which I'm licensed to give, and there is a full disclaimer in the comments. M3 is brought to you by our show partner, Sphere Home Loans. Whether you're buying your first home, upsizing, investing, or reviewing your mortgage, Sphere's team of trusted mortgage brokers has you covered wherever you are in Australia. Check them out via the link in the comments or just search Sphere Home Loans right now or whenever the time comes. And remember, keep it in the family. My name is Glen James, former financial advisor, and I created this show to help you with money, investing, and at times life in a practical and entertaining way. It might not be the best show in the world, but every time I record, I aim to make it the best in your world. Thank you for listening. I know you've got a choice. I appreciate it that you're here. John Pidgeon, welcome back.
Pleasure.
Finally, I was reading a thing the other day on the stand buyer effect. You know, that thing where they do that social study of like, if someone has a heart attack on the side of the road and you're the only one around, you'll likely call 000. But if there's like a heap of people, the percentage of anyone calling drops because they'll be like, someone else will do it, but no one actually does it.
That's
so
right.
On that, everyone, this is your boy Glen.
Right.
If you haven't yet on Apple or Spotify or YouTube, we're on this. You're seeing this crap on YouTube now. Can you please open your phone now? Give us a little 5-star if you like the podcast. Give us a like on YouTube. Give us a subscribe. It really does help.
Yeah.
You know,
it does.
We want to ask our regulars, don't be the standby, just actually do it. Thank you. Say something fun. Remember, we did the challenge last year. I'm like, you have to use the code word apricot in the reviews. So if you're on Apple, maybe what's a word that we could use, John?
For Spotify or
for Apple review?
Yeah, for Apple. Spotify don't do it now, do they?
You can do comments.
Yeah. Okay. So what could it be? Let's go away from the fruit or the vegetable for the minute.
Yeah.
And we could call it...
I just need a word from you.
Donald.
Okay. You've got to use the code word, keyword Donald in a YouTube comment or an Apple review. 5-star. Use the word Donald in there somehow. Do you want to read the anonymous question that we have there?
I like that you aligned the intro of me with someone standing by the side of the road.
Doing nothing.
Yeah, heart attack or something. Anonymous, I heard a financial advisor say that there were share platforms that offered zero brokerage and changing platforms might be worthwhile. I explained that I don't invest frequently. I invest once every 3 months. And so I wasn't too concerned about the $5.50 fee with Perla. I also said that the difference probably washes up in fees anyway. The example was Betashares Direct and a Vanguard equivalent. I've gone to the Betashares website and PDS, and it's seeming the case that it is a different product altogether, a managed fund, which has a monthly fee. I'm trying to see if I'm missing something here. Can you buy from the Betashares platform without getting a managed fund?
You can, John. I actually have asked Betashares if they want to come into the studio and do a full deep dive on this. Ooh. So ball's in your court. Yes. You know who you are, who I've been talking with. Look, in my limited looking, I think the Betashares Direct product, it's pretty decent.
It's a real thing.
For a couple of reasons, and I'll get to that. But what I want to do is, so much of this debate online, it's about investing fees and, I can't do that because there's fees, or
$5.50.
$5.50. So even if it costs you $10 a month, $120 a year, and you put a couple of grand in a year or more, the small brokerage fee or an account fee isn't determining your wealth at the end of your life. Like, there is a debate where, sure, if you start to get well over that 1%, you might have a tangible thing, but don't be afraid to pay fees. You actually pay fees for everything. Guess what? If you don't pay a fee for something, you're the product.
Yes.
Guess what? You listening to this podcast for free. You are the product. We are selling you ads.
I got charged 8 cents for a coffee today using my card. So
like a surcharge.
On surcharge on top. So, yeah, it's out there. It's real. And you mentioned the percentage, and I think people look at that, don't they, and say, well, okay, if I'm getting charged $5.50, but I've got $200,000 in there, different conversation to if I've got $2,000 in, I'm
That's
getting
right.
$5.50. That's what people look at.
Yeah. So I want you to focus less on the fee, particularly if you are starting to commit, because you've got to look at any of these mainstream type of platforms, and I think even last week we talked a lot about them when Jess Brady was on the show. Any of these type of mainstream platforms, they're not gouging and they're not terrible. It literally comes down to the flavor, how I like the UI, the app, and all that.
Yeah.
Now, a couple of things, and I won't rehash it. The Betashares Direct, because I just wanted to talk about it because for the first time, Betashares Direct have a product that in my mind I was waiting for someone to do for years. But a couple of things. The Betashares Direct, it is a custodian model. So I think the custodian is Citigroup. You can fact check me. So all your assets are held in custody and they've got someone who places the trades, which is not a big deal. If you've heard me for some time, I'm not a chest purist and all that stuff. The reason that you are basically with Pearler as a brokerage account, that is you've got a direct HIN with the ASX. They probably pay their market participant $2-ish or whatever a trade. I don't know how much they charge Pearler, and then Pearler either pass that on in full or clip the ticket, not sure. With Pearler, you're not getting consolidated annual tax reporting, but with Betashares Direct you are, and any of the platforms that are on custody. So again, Pearler, Superhero, Sharesies, I'll keep Raise and Spaceship separate because it's slightly separate because with Spaceship it is a managed fund. But, Betashares Direct, Pearler, Superhero, even Pearler Micro is on custody. I just in the way that the world is with people being so fee conscious, and even in legislation where you can't have hidden commissions in super and all that stuff, like you're not getting gouged. So I just want to say that.
It's too competitive, isn't it?
That's right. So the difference when we look at, so for example, Pearler versus ComSec, if you had $100,000 in ComSec in the cash account, that cash account, and I think NAB Trade would pay interest of that money.
Yeah.
But their trades are $20.
Yeah.
If you had $100,000 in your Pearler cash account, they're not passing on the interest, but they're charging a cheaper brokerage fee.
Yeah.
Now,
so
yeah.
I was going to say that given that example, there may be platforms that are more advantageous to you based on the amount that you want to invest.
That's right. Yeah. And that's where you need to look at, and this is where kind of Betashares Direct have come in and be like, we're not charging any brokerage ever. Okay. And I remember when someone was talking about it on a Facebook, I'm like, oh, look, nothing's free.
Yeah.
They're a business. They need to be making their money somehow. And when I wrote that comment, I hadn't really looked. It was just like, oh, someone said they're doing free brokerage. Well, nothing's free. There's a business. They'll be making money elsewhere. Don't worry about that. I'll stand by that. But the model that they've taken, and this is what I really like about this Betashares Direct. Firstly, I've not been paid to say this, number one. Betashares probably won't pay me or work with us because I've tried in the past. We don't do performance-based digital marketing, but that's their kind of shtick. Right. So when you advertise with a podcast, I'm a billboard on the side of the road. I can do awareness. So just full-on commercial disclosure here. If they turned around and said, Glen, here you have some money, promote our product, I would.
Yeah.
It's unlikely. Just over the years, they've never got a cent out of them, and they've tried, but I'm just not a digital platform. Spend the money on Google or Facebook. But what I like about the product is it has all the ETFs that you want to buy, top 300 ASX direct equities. You can, and this is where and it's kind of similar with and apologies everyone, I'm just trying to unpack this in a long kind of detailed way. Before I get to Betashares, we'll talk about this Vanguard fund, because that's also a fund that's fine. Like if you just woke up one day and like, I want to buy a Vanguard Diversified High Growth Fund, you own units in that, I think, for the kids.
Yep.
Through the investment bonds. How are they going? All right?
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah.
Always want better, don't we?
Oh, we always do. But at what cost, John? So if you're like, I just want to wake up and buy Vanguard Diversified High Growth Fund or Vanguard Diversified, there's a new fund out there. I'm about to do a little explainer on it. Yeah. Challenge to DHHF. Vanguard came out. Vanguard Diversified All Growth Fund. Ooh. I digress. But if you're like, yeah, I just want to pump Vanguard all day long, go and use Vanguard Personal Investor all day long. You can buy the odd ASX security. So it's just like, do that. All good. Whatever. Doesn't matter.
The key is we're doing something.
The key is we're doing something. So, and it's advantageous for it to be cheaper if I'm just investing through Vanguard using their platform, because they've got a platform. I'm using Vanguard stuff. They're making a clip off the MER of the ETF.
Yeah.
And they probably charge a nominal brokerage fee. So back to this Betashares thing. So yes, 100%, I do believe when they say we have no plan to charge for brokerage on ETFs or ASX shares. Absolutely get that. What they offer though, and this is the crazy thing that I think is so amazing, there's, from what I can read, and this is why I need to do a deep dive with them. Yeah. So Elle, please, she might hear this. Please text me.
Elle from Betashares.
Yeah. What I need to know, because from what I saw looking through the PDS, if you want to rock up and be like, I just want to invest in a diversified portfolio of ETFs, you can select a portfolio, pre-designed portfolio of ETFs that Betashares have and manage, okay? But you pay a monthly fee. It's like $4 or something like that. And you've just got to look on the website, everyone, because it's got different bands and all that. So number one, okay, I get why you can charge no brokerage, or I get why you don't charge brokerage, because if you use this system, we've got a design portfolio that's got research behind it, Betashares ETFs, they do the quarterly rebalancing, auto reinvest, all that stuff. Guess what? If you want something that's done for you and good, you're going to have to pay for it. I'm not against that. So that's one option with the Betashares Direct. The second option, which I just love and I froth on all day long, no other provider that I've seen does this. You can design your own portfolio with a target asset allocation that if I want to use Vanguard, BlackRock, all these ETFs, put your target allocation in, they will automatically rebalance that quarterly for you, but still charge you a fee. Yeah. But that's fine. Yeah. I want to pay for portfolio management software.
Yeah.
I just think that is a game changer. So if you're out there and you're like, oh, I want to do my own investing and I want to use, I don't know, VAS, and I want to use IVV, and then I want to use I want to use A200, the Betashares Australian ETF. I want to use IVV for the international exposure, and then I want to use some other gold ETF or something like that. You can build your own portfolio set to your own weighting. Free trades, awesome. Pay $4.50, whatever it is, a month with Betashares to use their technology, and they will automatically rebalance it and do all that.
Yeah.
Game changer. And then the third way from what I see, and I just didn't have a chance to get into the weeds of it, I think from what I'm reading, you could just log in, use Betashares Direct and buy CBA shares and nothing else. And I don't believe the monthly fee applies to that. I haven't looked deep enough. That's why I just want to...
A one-off fee.
Yeah, so I think all that to say, I did want to talk about why I froth on it from what I've seen, and I do want to do a deep dive with them. But into the anonymous question, Just step back a million miles and go, I want to be an investor. Okay, sweet. Step back a million miles and be like, I want to invest for this 10-year window. Awesome. It's not going to be super. It's going to be an investment in our own name. Or I've got excess money. I want to invest for the long term. Well, there's a strong argument to use super. I just want people to invest. I want people to zoom out and chill out and keep shoveling money for the long term. The platform doesn't heaps matter. The investment that you're investing in does heaps matter. I personally pay because, as you know, and I've said, I've got this self-managed super fund now. I had some cash in there that I was kind of either way. A couple of weeks ago when all that stuff happened with Trump, I opened my account and put the money into the market. And now with my, because I pay our staff superannuation and my superannuation monthly, I'll be now monthly investing. But I pay for a platform and a portfolio in my super fund. Yeah. And I use Life Sherpa Invest. And Vince, his company, they're licensed by us. We're licensed by them rather. It's not technically sitting in Vince's little home kitty. It's outsourced portfolio on a platform called Open Invest. It's the portfolio that Vince has used for years. But I pay a fee for that. And I'm okay to pay fees.
To Vince and his team as well as the platform.
Well, to anyone. Well, that's it. Like if you want portfolio management, like who am I to think that I know the exact asset allocation of you talk about modern portfolio theory and all that. Who am I to think that I know more than portfolio managers and all that stuff? I don't. So and this is, we've talked about this more. This is the whole Dunning-Kruger effect. The longer I do this money stuff, the more I realize I'm not a portfolio manager. I need to focus on pumping money into a portfolio, and I'm happy to pay for portfolio management.
So based on all this new technology and the ability to diversify this asset allocation, et cetera, how many more people are out there doing it themselves DIY as opposed to paying a Vince of the world, a financial advisor, planner, to manage their money?
Well, and this is the thing, lots. But secondly, I'm not paying Life Sherpa Invest anything huge. It's well under 1% for the portfolio management. And I've selected, I want this portfolio 80% growth. And I can see the transparency, all the ETFs. I can literally, you can go to the Life Sherpa, and again, full disclosure, Vince has not paid me to talk about this. I'll be running some ads on it because I believe it's also a good option. This is the thing. There are so many good options.
And that's the thing, isn't it? Is there's too much out there for
but pick one,
the modern person.
And stick with it. But
And the hours spent on these little things like the $5.50, it's just, it might be just easier just to say, right, specialist, go and do your thing on my behalf.
Because it's not expensive. But answer to your question, there's a lot of people, you see it in Facebook group all the time. I got these 3 ETFs.
Yeah.
I've got this, I got that. No, you've got a whole heap of overlap. I'm sorry, you're not at that Dunning-Kruger curve yet to know that you actually don't know anything, but because you've just started and you listen to this podcast that you think you do, we're all victims on it, and I love it. And I'm about to put a photo of it over there on my desk because we don't know anything, and we need to focus on earning money from work. We need to focus on spending less than what we earn, and then we need to focus on just pumping a diversified portfolio, albeit DHHF, albeit the Vanguard equivalent now, albeit a Betashares custom portfolio, albeit what I've done in my super, Life Sherpa Invest.
There's a lot to be said for having someone in the middle directing this for us to keep our hands off it, because especially if we get really early on or short-term results and you think, okay, actually, I'm going all right.
I think I've done something. Yeah.
Well, this is actually not that hard.
Yeah.
So what do? We double down and we make more decisions than we think we should, and we've got to maybe step back and allow someone to be the enforcer for us.
When you buy your own investment properties, do you run the strategy past someone else?
I do. My wife. Yeah. She says, do whatever, John. No, I do get someone to sense check it. And a lot of it, I actually learn a lot from my clients and the thinking that they have and just being able to look into someone else's situation. And that's why the clarity call is so powerful, is because you're looking in without emotion on someone else's situation.
Do you still do the clarity calls?
I do.
Are you doing a few a week still?
Yeah. I'll pull back a lot. Yeah. But I still.
I'm just trying to see how much John generates from the podcast. I don't know. Because remember, everyone, I'm fully big on transparency. Any business John gets from this podcast, it's all his. I don't take a clip. I just want to know. I hope you're doing well. Yeah. But so on the clarity call, so people can, we'll put a link in the show notes because we haven't talked about it before, but people can just spend an hour with you and chew the fat.
Essentially, yeah, for various reasons that relate to property, essentially, is the main, unless they want to have a chat about relationships, I've got no experience on, but generally.
Well, there we go. So all that to say, Anonymous, the Betashares, it's not a managed fund, it's a portfolio of ETFs, and you can choose your own custom portfolio, or you can just select one of their pre-made portfolios, or you can do your own thing, but sure, there's no brokerages, but there's a monthly fee, $5 a month. If you had to spend $60 a year on a platform fee, who cares? Like, what are we doing here? But I know this peels the thread or, pulls the thread of this money personality thing where I'm just big picture, big rocks, make more money, spend less, invest more money, where some people inherently get stuck in the micro little picture. And I don't know if either's right or wrong. I'm just saying from my experience. So thanks for that. And we will try and do that deep dive with Betashares Direct. Try and get some money out of them. Doubt it though. Hey, we'll be right back after this.
If you're after personal financial advice, don't get it from a podcast. If you would like help based on your own personal situation, head over to moneypodcast.com.au, click Get Help, and we'd be happy to introduce you to one of our trusted professionals. Our panel of vetted financial advisors and mortgage brokers work with people all over Australia so they can connect with you wherever you are. That's moneypodcast.com.au and click Get Help.
Before we get back into the show, I'd like to encourage you to protect your financial life. Now, what does that mean? It means having income protection insurance in place. It means having death cover in place if you do have debt or dependents. It means having your suite of personal insurances sorted. I know you insure your car. I know you insure your house. Why not insure you? I really want to encourage you to reach out to Sky Wealth. They support the podcast. They are specialist financial advisors who can look at your situation, walk through a heap of options personalized to you. It's usually far more comprehensive and competitively priced than going direct to your super fund. You must see a specialist financial advisor for your insurance. You can head to sky.com.au, that's skye.com.au, to book a complimentary 15-minute chat and the team can point you in the right direction. Like all good cults, we need a place to hang out together. That's our Facebook group. If you are going to join the Money, Money, Money podcast Facebook group, just put you heard about the group through the podcast and put this episode number that you're listening to. That way we know that you're not a spam account. Otherwise, you can catch me on Instagram at moneypodcast.aus. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks to Sky Wealth. Let's get back into the show. Okay, community segment of the week. In the can you see here, John, in the episode planner, see the link to the community segment of the week? Do you know what I call it internally?
Communist Seggy?
Yeah. Communist Seggy, brackets, Tuesday only. We asked people, what's one price from the past that still blows your mind?
Yeah, I'm with Renee on this. Petrol price when I started driving was below $1. Can remember the outrage when it went above that. I remember I had a ute on gas. It was 18 cents. Outrageous.
Yeah, good time to be alive, am I right? Loz, $4 worth of hot chips used to cover half the dining table when I was a kid.
Andrew, going for a night out with $50 cash when I first turned 18 in 2004, getting sloshed, still had enough money for a 30-minute taxi ride home at the end of the night. $50 wouldn't even cover an Uber home now. Isn't that true?
Oh, it's amazing. Can you just read another one while I just pull something
Daniel says lamb shanks being bought cheap to give it to the dog. I like that one. Victoria says, I worked at McDonald's 2001 to 2004. Meals for the big burgers / nuggets were $4.95, $5.45 or $5.95 small, medium, large. Geez, he really knows their prices. Large fries were $2.35. It's now $3 for small. Must have been a manager there, I reckon.
Yeah, Owen said $1 Bitcoin. Oh my gosh, yes. I still kick myself. I remember exactly where I was in 2013, driving through South Pacific Highway, Wyong, thinking I need to go home and buy some Bitcoin.
And you didn't?
And just never, like I've made money from it, but anyway. Caitlin, 5 to 10 cent lollies at the corner shop. I'm a 99 baby. I know they were even cheaper.
Yeah, 5 cents got you a bag back in the day. Tennille, my grandparents selling 500 acres 40 minutes from Noosa Heads in the 70s for $50K.
Here's a good blow your mind one. Buying ringtones. Oh. I think they were around $10. And that's right. Remember back in the day when you sent a text message, it was 25 cents.
Yes.
They reckon, I might do the comparison on that later while you're having a chat in the episode. But the size of the data file at 25 cents, the companies were making so much money because it would be the equivalent of like a downloadable MP3 file of a song being worth like $5,000.
Yeah.
Like wild.
Yeah. Sky, this one is real. The price of beer. When I started working in the industry, a schooner of beer was $1.80. Now it's $9.80. Well, I was in Chippendale 2 nights ago, and they were $13
for a skewy. That Bitcoin thing reminded me, I kid you not, the 7th or 8th of April when, Trump was doing all these things, I text Nick Bradley and I'm like, Solana, got to be a good buy right now. And I just didn't get around to logging in. In the last 14 days, it's up 43%.
Jeez.
Yeah, I'm just, always kick myself because you get busy and you're like, I've got to do that. Anyway.
Too busy to make money.
Yeah, and that's not an endorsement. It was just, I would have probably put some money in if I
weren't so busy.
Weren't so busy and distracted. So let's now move to the next question in finishing. I got a voice message from a friend. She was. I'll read. It's an apartment in Ryde, and I'll play the audio message.
The apartment I'm looking at sold for $545 in 2013, and they're asking for $510. I also noticed a couple of other apartments have actually sold cheaper as well. Okay,
so it's a 1 bed, 1 bar. Oh, did you bring up the research?
Yeah.
1 bed, 1 bath. So it was sold for $545 in 2013. So in Ryde, so you almost see the Harbour Bridge from there if you're on the hill or whatever. And now they're asking $510. I basically said, hey, look at the strata report and try and go through that. In 2029, they think the outside wall will need replacing, and that will cost $380,000 for the strata committee.
Yeah.
So within 5 years. So there will be a special levy for that against all residents. It could average out at around $4,000. Because how many, does it tell you there, how many in the building?
There's 95 in the complex, yeah.
So just talk to us, because I was legitimately shocked when she said that. Doesn't property always go up in value, and particularly in Sydney?
Well, no. The answer to that is no. A lot of people put emphasis on location, and I get that, especially in cities like Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, etc. But the type of property, and in this case, the building that it's in has a big impact on prices. Now, this property that's being referred to, that was bought off the plan, so brand new in 2014. So clearly they've paid too much for it back then.
So that's categorically you think that happened? They've paid too much for it back then?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
The RP data core logic valuation today has it at 485. So people look at these as potential bargains when they chat to the agent and the agent says, oh, the owner needs to sell and they're willing to take a discount. And
well, she said to me, if you offer 510 to 530 in that range, they'll take it.
Yeah. So it's probably still 20 to 30 grand too much. But
particularly when there's others for sale in the complex.
That's right. And even if you did get yourself a discount, even if you went and bought it for 450, is there a discount on the way in? Well, conceptually, yes, but you can't put lipstick on a pig. Like the vacancy rates in Ryde are high, even though we've got this housing shortage around the country. The vacancy rates are still up around 1.5%, which is still low. I get that, but in comparison to, say, houses in most solid areas, the vacancy rates there are like 0.1 or 0.2%. That's where the comparison is there. It's on a very busy road, like Blaxland Road is an A3.
Hang on, I'm looking at a website that says the vacancy rate is 1.45 in Ryde. Or have you drilled down to apartments?
No, so yeah, that's what I said. 1.5 I said, I think.
Sorry. Yeah. Which is really good, isn't it?
Well, it is good in comparison, but in comparison to what we're seeing around the country now, a lot of vacancy rates are below 1%.
Right. So relatively it is high.
It has come down. You can look at that and say, well, yeah, I can get it tenanted at 1.5%, no problems. Traditionally, when you look at the graph over the last 20 years, it's sort of sat around 3% or above, which generally means there's some sort of slight oversupply. But yeah, very busy road. Obviously, the building itself isn't that flash. Like, you shouldn't have to be replacing a wall after 10 years.
No.
There's 95 in the complex, which, yeah, look, is more than you'd like. It's only one bed. So when you look at...
Has it got a car spot, did you see?
Well, it doesn't actually say. On RP data it says it hasn't, but then when it's advertised it says it does. So maybe there's shared car spaces there that people can access. I don't know. But internally it's only 52 square. So it does have a balcony by the looks to make it a little bit larger. But it's a small it's a small dwelling internal. And when you look at one beds, one bath, who are you attracting? You're not attracting a family.
No, and my friend, she's in her lower 40s,
yeah,
and is single and unmarried, so it makes sense for her.
And if she's looking at that saying, well, I just want security, I just want to buy something that I can handle the mortgage, or I have no mortgage, I'm close to work, I can get into the city really easily, and it fits my needs, then you would start to look at it. But when you look at a wall that needs replacing, I'm like, yeah, it's an alarm bell. And the market's really telling you that, isn't it?
Yeah.
But, yeah, it like Blaxland Road, I don't know if you've been on it, but it is extremely busy. So the walls probably come apart because it's so busy. And the movement, I don't know. But, yeah, it's definitely a no for me. And in answer to your question, does property always go up? Well, no. In this case, it hasn't. And in a lot of cases with this type of dwelling, and I've been banging on about it for 7, 8, 9, however long we've been running, you see similar scenarios.
Yeah. So it's generally a no for you. You wouldn't touch it. But if the glove fit, and it does for a lot of people, as you said, I want the security. It looks nice-ish. What does it say? What level it's on?
Yeah, so it's 6.
Yeah, so it would be 6th floor likely. Yeah. So if the shoe fits, the shoe fits. Would you suggest going in at 500, or if you really want it, know that you? And this is it. Like, I think what I'll do, there was a lady that you interviewed last year. She does like full strata due diligence.
Yes.
I forget the name of her company. For a few $100s, you'd pay her to go through the report.
Well, yeah. I mean, the issue. I don't know if the shoe ever fits on something like this for someone that really appreciates living in a good complex that's going to maybe create some wealth through real estate. I just, it's a walk away for me. Like I wouldn't be buying it with a 5 in front of it.
Yeah, okay. And particularly if there's others in the complex. I mean, it's got a nice view. It's got a bath, nice. Looks like a small bath.
Okay, so I'm just reading the first page of CoreLogic on this complex. And I'm looking at the owner type. Rented, 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 rented. I don't know how many times I've said that, but there's not one owner occupier on the first page.
So do you reckon most of the building is
Investor.
Yeah.
So the vacancy rate, and the devil's in the detail, the vacancy rate might be 1.5 for the suburb, but when you dig down into the actual asset itself, you then see, well, at this rate, it's 100% investor.
Yeah. It says secure underground car space with cage storage.
So that might be the extra 24 square that they were talking about.
Right. But that's it, isn't it? Like in this world, there's clearly lots of apartments. Whatever my friend does, my advice would be, one, pay the strata report person to literally go, because she sent me a 200-page report, and I obviously don't have the expertise and the will to go through that. Pay someone to do some actual due diligence of the strata report. If you do want it for certainty and all that, sure, grab it.
Yeah.
But you need to know that over the next 10 years, number one, it might move sideways and do nothing.
Yep.
Number two, you will be on the hook for a special strata levy that could be $3,500 to $4,500, depending on your allotment size. That'd be easy to work out through the strata reports. What's the sinking fund like? You know, is there arrears for a lot of people in the building?
Yeah.
Like all this stuff will be hidden in plain sight. Like it will be there.
Yeah.
I want you to look at meeting minutes and look for any kind of ad hoc comments where someone said, oh, yeah, we think that this will need to be done in 2039 or 2029. We will, in 2028, we'll commission an engineer. That 380 might be cute. Like
it could be 780. Like who knows? Like in 2029, what are building costs? What are the, like there's a massive inquiry and regulations being altered now for apartments being built. So they could come in 2029 and say, well, hang on a minute, this wall's...
Well, the wall's connected to the car park. There's a flood issue, so we actually have to redo something or...
The whole plumbing, the whole electrical...
I don't know.
Yeah. It's. I wouldn't even be looking at the strata report. I'd just be moving on. And your friend might say, well, I've only got $500 to spend, so I haven't got too much choice here. I'd rather go 1 or 2 suburbs further out and buy something in a smaller complex that's better condition. I don't know.
Yeah, but it's hard. And this is it, like when your lifestyle is on the North Shore,
Yeah.
like further out from Ryde, okay, we've got West Ryde.
Yeah.
Then we've, before you know it, you're at the foot of the mountains.
But those suburbs, Ryde and surrounds, are notorious for just concrete jungles, basically. So don't think that your 500K asset's going to be $1 million in 10 years' time.
Yeah, I don't know why. She just needs to pay for a buyer's advocate. Pay them $15,000. Like, find me a 1 bed, 1 bath, 1 car, get a map, draw a circle on it, and just go find something that isn't advertised.
Well, all 95 of those are rentals.
Are you serious?
I cannot find one owner occupier in there. So, yeah, that's no go.
Well, there you go. We will leave it there this week. Thank you so much for having a listen. My name is Glenny J. Your name is...
John Pidgeon.
And remember, don't get yippy. Bye. Thanks for listening to today's podcast. If you want to support us, there is one way you can do that. You can send the episode to a friend, a family member, or your group chat if you think those people would find it valuable. We also thank you for leaving a review on Apple or Spotify. If you've listened to this podcast for some time, or if you've read any of my books, you would know that giving and generosity in a financial sense is a big thing in my life. If you think it's time that you are ready to give financially to a good cause, you could head to our website, moneypodcast.com.au/charities to see the charities that we support.
Any advice is general financial advice only, which does not take into account your objectives, financial situation, or needs. Because of that, you should consider if the advice is appropriate to you and your needs before acting on the information. If you do choose to buy a financial product, read the product disclosure statement, PDS, and target market determination, TMD, and obtain appropriate financial advice tailored to your needs. Simo Interactive Pty Ltd, the publisher of this podcast, and Glen James are authorized representatives of Money Sherpa Pty Ltd, which holds Financial Services License 451289. Opinions or comments from any guests on the podcast are theirs and not those of the host or the publisher or their respective license holders.